guys, Baileywiki here, and I'm going to design in real time a 3D map with you. We're going to use Ripper's new map sharing function here, and there's some special scenes that you can actually download if you type in terrain with his 3D canvas module. You can get these special terrain scenes. This is my first time using a lot of this stuff. You're going to see some new things in here, so you're just basically going to learn along with me. And once we open this scene up, we can see we have a bunch of terrains kind of already built out for us. You can make these terrains yourself using some of his tools, but I'm just showing you this because we have a map making contest right now, and I just want to show you guys how easy it is to make a map here. And so I'm just kind of scanning through my options. These are all really ultimately tiles. So I'm going to turn my tile picker on. I'm going to hit Control-C, and I'm going to copy that. And I'm just going to check out the other terrains just because I'm getting to know, what's in the library here. But you can see we've got a whole bunch of other ones, right? And so we have snowy and mountains. These can all be stretched and made taller or shorter, so they're pretty flexible. You can mix them together. You can smash them together and merge them because these are all just 3D tiles. So you can do things with 3D that you can't do in 2D. And that's why I say it's actually easier to design in 3D a pretty good scene. Now we're going to go back to the scene that I just stubbed out, and we're going to check these first three boxes so that when we load it, it always loads into 3D mode. And that's how you turn it on. You go to your token thing and layer and you hit that. Now we're going to go in here and press Control-V, and we're basically just pasting that tile that I had selected before. Now I have a special macro. It's actually it's called Fit Tile to Scene. Ripper actually built this. It's in his macro compendium. I keep it in the Baileywiki compendium too, but it does is just makes the tile the exact size of the scene. If you press O, you can get an aerial view of your scene, and I'm just going to kind of move this over and center it. So that gives us our basic foundation for what we're going to build. And you can see it already gives you some inspiration. You're like, do I want to make this a mine? Or, do I want to stretch it out and make it like really deep in there, or maybe not very deep at all, right? If you press S or scale, it'll go into scale mode, and you can make it as tall, long, short as you'd like. So I'm just evaluating this terrain and what I want to do with it. I'm going to go to my tile layer, and I'm going to draw a tile in here. I'm going to try to draw just a rough box. And then I'm going to select that box. I accidentally drew two of them. I'm going to press T to translate, and that's going to let me move it around along these axes. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to give it a blue color. I want this to be water. So I want to fill this recessed area with water. I'm going to go to my shaders and find my water shader, and I'm just going to tick it on for right now. And then I'm going to keep going here. And then you can see it slowly starting to move. So it's got the shader applied to it. Now I'm going to go back to my scale mode, and I'm going to stretch this out. And I'm just going to get it kind of where I want it. It didn't take my color the last time, so I'm going to give it that blue color again. Here we've already got some water going. I'm going to go back into my shader, and I'm going to change the speed of the water. It shouldn't be sloshing around so much. I'm going to cut it in half by 10. So just add another 0 there. I'm just going to play around with the speed until I get it roughly to the place I think it looks right. I just want it to be a subtle water sort of motion. This is looking pretty good right now. There's going to be a lot of things I'm going to show you later to optimize the scene before we get it ready to share with the community. So make sure you stick around or you jump ahead to those timestamps if you want to see those. It's really, really important to make high-performing scenes. I'm going to show you guys some great tricks that are going to give you a huge increase on performance here. Now we're going to go to this 3D asset browser. It's new from Ripper, and it's already set up with all of his, as long as you have his 3D compendium installed, and if you have my 3D module installed, it's already set up to automatically look at all of the assets in there. And what it does is it just gives you a really easy way to browse. If you've used Molinet in 2D, it's very similar to that. And I'm going to select one of these trees, but I'm going to have a couple of randomization options on. And I'm just going to click around the map, and it's going to set these up in different scale and rotation configurations. And I'm going to try to only stick with like 3 different models. And I'll explain why as I go here. Essentially, there's those randomization controls. If you have those ticked on, it'll randomize them in the way that you see here. The reason I'm only sticking with 3 models is because when we get to optimize the scene, we can take all these models, each of which is a mesh, each of which counts against your performance, and we're going to smash them all together. We're going to make them look just like they are now, but we're going to have them treated like a single mesh. So if you pick 30 different models, you're going to have 30 different meshes, and I want the variability of a forest without having the all of the meshes counting against my performance. So you can just see I'm spamming a couple of different colors into different shapes and sizes. And you can see how quickly you can create really believable forests. These happen to be new trees. If you've used some of Ripper's stuff in the past, they were really goofy looking kind of cartoony trees. And these I just think are spectacular. And there's so many in this library. You're only seeing just a handful of what we've got here. And as I'm designing the scene, I'm thinking, you know what? I think I want to have a building on this scene. Maybe there was a 2D map that my players were in, or if they were in a home or a tavern, and then they're going to go outside and there's going to be this skirmish, right? So this is one of the buildings in my set. I just searched for building, and I could scan through all of these. Now I'm going to turn off these randomization options because I want to just place the building the way it was intended. I do have the ability to affect the scale and other things. But this building's about the right size for what I want. And I just figured out that if I leave this browser open, it'll keep trying to place tiles. So if you close the browser, hit T for translate, we can now move this house somewhere else in the map where we think it might fit a little bit better. And since I've got this big wide open space over here, I'll kind of nestle it in the corner. I'll hit R to rotate. And I'm going to hold down Shift. And Shift is going to let me do very precise adjustments, right? So remember Shift, it can always let you move things, rotate things in a very precise way. Now we've got it in roughly the place that I want. I'm going to add just maybe a couple more buildings to the scene here. And part of what I do is just like to see what's available, right? Look at all these things. There's tents and all sorts of stuff to give me inspiration on like maybe what the next map is that I'll do. This is another one from my set. It is it's just a broken down shed, and it's cool because you can go inside and it's got an interior. And I'm just going to scale it down here and nestle it over there in the corner. I think there might be something of intrigue to discover over there, or it's just another thing that players can sort of use, hide within, right? Shoot from inside. It's just a great little piece. Realize that I want my water now that I've got the scene kind of coming together. I want my water to come up to the top here. I feel like this is a house on a lake. And in fact, that's what I'll end up calling this, is Lake House. And this is already a pretty effective map, right? And you are watching this in real time, and we're, not very far into this. We're not even 10 minutes in, and we've got a really, really great 3-dimensional map. Go back to my browser, and in this case, I want to put a dock in. So I type in dock to see what's available to me. I could have put this together with other pieces, so I might have browsed a little bit more. If I didn't find a dock, I could make something that looks close enough to a dock. And I'll go ahead and drag this out. It's too small the way it is. I could have played with the scale value to drag it out and make it automatically bigger, but I'll just scale it here with the S key and make it the size that I want. Now, its material is clashing, I think, with the house and with the rest of the map. I want them to be a little bit more cohesive. So I'm going to go into the model itself in the 3D tab, and there's this material application button that you can press, and you get all of these materials from wood to plastic and glass and stone. I mean, everything you can think of. And I'll apply this wood texture, and you can see it all automatically makes that dock just look great. Now I'm going to start placing it. I'm going to use the shift key here when I feel like I get it to the right spot. Like we'll hold shift and just pull it down just a little bit, pull it up. And just looking at the space and where do I want this dock to live. So let's go ahead and rotate this. And let's press T to translate. If you grab that green panel, that'll move it along the horizontal axis there. It's really helpful. We're going to give that just the right little spot coming off of the edge there. And now if I hold down Control and I drag it, I can actually duplicate that tile. This is a really effective building technique, especially if you're using some of our modular dungeon pieces. You can just drag these pieces out and make duplicates and go right down the line, and it's really, really fantastic. So essentially, I've got two docks here that are, put together as a single unit, right? I'm going to show you guys when we go to optimizing how I can make this actually be perceived as a single unit by 3D Canvas. I'm liking this so far. I could imagine a great battle going on here. I can imagine some creatures inside the water or some big creature inside the water. I could see my players struggling to sort of get to their objective. Here I'm going to look for a boat, drop a boat in. This one needs to be resized as well. And if I select it and press S, I'm going to scale and I can make it just a little bit bigger. Press T and I can start moving it around. I want it just above the water line. And I'll rotate it here and I'll put it right next to the dock. Of course, I could have this of just sitting on the shore somewhere. All sorts of stuff that you can do here. And over time, we'll get more and more assets. So sometimes you might come and find an asset and you're like, oh, well, this is good enough for now for this map that I want to play. But we work really hard. Swift on my team has got just a huge library that he's in the middle of porting over and optimizing for 3DC. So if you're a subscriber, you'll see more and more stuff every month as he's been doing, and just more and more assets that give you the creativity to just kind of do all these kind of things. Let's get this just a little bit more adjustment. You can see the water when it's animated like that, it can really rise. And I could change the water animation, but here we'll just change the boat. And in this case, I want to give the boat a different texture as well. I don't want to leave it at this sort of cartoonish texture. So we'll give it a little some kind of wood here. And I recommend you come in here and play with it. Realize that it does take it can take a second for some of the textures to load. And this looks like it's probably the one we'll go with. Keep in mind, these maps are all shareable in the new community sharing option. That's what the contest is for. You can win free annual subscriptions to both myself and Ripper for those who win. And we've got some other prizes for other great work that you guys are doing. And when you get these, you can make these changes yourself. So I'm showing you how I'm doing it so that you can come in and you can change anything about this map that you want. Here I'm going to look for a lamp. This is another piece from my set. I just really like this lamp. It works in a lot of different scenarios. And you normally have to scale it to kind of wherever you want it to fit. And you can see how easy it is to manipulate these things. And I realized my door to my house is facing the wrong way, so fix that. And we'll hit T for translate, and we will move this over by the door. Notice I'm using that green box to move it along the horizontal plane. That's good. And I think what I'll do is I'll probably copy that, Control C, and then I'll Control V that same tile over here to the dock, because I want a little light out on the dock. Yeah, that's pretty good. Cool, right? Okay, now let's add some undergrowth here. I looked up flowers and I'm just grabbing this flower that I like and drag it out. It's not quite the right size, but I'm gonna drag 3 of them out. Or I'm gonna click 3 times, I should say. Then I'm gonna hold down the F key, F as in Frank, with that window closed. Hold down the F key and you can select multiple of things, whether it's multiple tiles or lights or whatever. F key lets you lasso all of them. And if you find yourself struggling to get scale right, just move a little bit further away from that center box. Now I'm going to hit Control C. So I've now copied these 3 tiles the way that I like them. And I'm going to Control V them around the map. And normally, this would be a bad idea with performance because I'm creating all of these individual meshes. But again, I'm going to show you how to optimize these here in just a second. And I'm not going to spam with a bunch of different plants. I'm just going to stick with a few because you can only smash together the same models as I understand it. If you have different models, different meshes, they will not merge together. And so, and also I found out from Ripper that, and I don't know if it was available at the time that I'm making this now, but there is also a way, I think, to hit down Control in the asset browser, and you can select like multiple assets. And so you can spam a few down at the same time, or randomly, I should say. And we'll do one more flower type just to create some variation. This one looks good. S to scale. Put it about the size that we want. And we'll paste it a couple times there. Just trying to get it above the ground. All right. We'll hold down Shift in this case and just select multiple and hit Control C. Now we've got it copied. And we'll do the same thing. We'll just kind of paste them around. I wanted to keep this scene relatively simple. You can make it obviously a lot more complex. I'm not sure that you need to. Okay, now we want to place some lights. So I'm on my light layer, and I'm going to go to a physical thing that I can attach the light to, and I'm going to drag out. So in this case, I'm choosing just the lamp there, and I'll drag out a light, and now I get a weight, and you can see everything's going to kind of freeze for a second. That's normal. It takes a moment for the light to sort of manifest, and everything will kind of freeze while it does that. It doesn't do that while you're playing your games. It's just when you first create this light. And I'm going to give it some values. I'm going to make it orange. I'm going to make it flicker. A couple of the animations of Foundry are supported by 3DC, like flickering lights. And we'll go ahead and give that an update. So I feel like this scene would play really well in both day and night, so I want to give it some kind of nighttime ambiance here too. I'm hitting F again, and I'm just selecting that one light, and I'm hitting Control C. Sometimes that tool, that selection tool, the F tool, is effective just to grab something where you're not sure that you're grabbing it. And I'm going to hit Control V, and it's going to do the same thing. It's going to wait for a second while that light materializes. All right, that's feeling pretty good. That's in the right spot. Well, I do want to move it just a little bit. So if you hold down on the light with your left click mouse, it will select it. You can't just grab it and move it because people have been accidentally moving lights, but you can hold it down and then it's movable. And remember, you just hold the Shift key to place it precisely where you want, just like anything else. Now I've decided, you know what? I always like there to be a surprise in my maps. So in this case, I'm going to bury a treasure chest in the bottom of this lake. I'm going to pick, this is a chest from my set. and I'm going to give it a kind of an odd rotation. This is again why 3D is so great. Like you can just like bury things in the ground. Normally to find this artwork as a tile, a buried chest, you may not even have it, be hard to find, but 3D just doesn't care about all that. It's fully physical objects that accept the light around them and they can interact with each other. And now I'm going to go use some Monk's Active Tiles triggers to say, look, if a player comes in here and actually finds this thing, and if they actually click it, I want to just put a stubbed out action here, right? This will just say you found a treasure. Of course, I may want to actually have this give them something in their inventory. You can do anything with Monk's Active Tiles, but it all works in 3D. You do have to make sure that the object blocks movement. If it doesn't block movement, then players can't actually click on it, at least for that clicking function. So here we have it. Players could potentially end up underwater in a battle, and maybe somebody stumbles on this chest. Maybe they never do, but that's my little secret, and it's my Easter egg, and it'd be super fun if they found it. And that's how easy it is to do this kind of thing. Okay, so I think, and by the way, you saw I dragged a character out. I just want to make sure everything is the right scale. So it's always good practice to drag out a character and just make sure that everything you're building is the right scale. You don't want the buildings to be huge or tiny when your players actually play. So now we're going to get into optimizing. So you notice there's these macros here, that macro that I just showed you that lets us basically merge all of these meshes together. And so we're going to do a few things. We're going to put a spot in our macro bar for this one just so I can show you later. And we're going to take a couple of important steps here. So first, I have mass edit. I talk about it all the time. It works just great in 3D. I'm going to hit Control A. I'm going to select all these tiles, and I'm going to hit Shift E, and that's a mass edit function. I'm going to say, I don't want anything here to block sight. Why would I do that? Well, blocking sight causes a lot of performance demands. If any object that's blocking sight, it's got to be calculated. So I've taken everything and said I don't want it to block sight because there's no need to. There's no need for ground to block sight and everything else, all these trees. But I did then go back and grab these two buildings and said, okay, I want them to actually block sight. It's the only thing on this map that I want to block sight, meaning I don't want to be able to see tokens that are on the other side of these things. And I also do a thing where I just get rid of the 3D canvas tile picture. I just don't like it. Okay, now we've taken sight out of everything except the things we really want. Now we can click our auto merge tiles. It gives us this warning, right? It says you're about to click this and you can't undo it. So I recommend just creating a duplicate of your scene in case you want to go back and change something. In this case, I'm going to make a copy, and I'm going to name the copy unoptimized version, right? Or just unoptimized. That way I know that this is the one that I don't want to share, but it's the one that I can come back in and make changes to. And now in the scene that we're currently working with, we're now safe to go ahead and auto merge our tiles. It's going to give us a little notification saying, hey, you've merged a bunch of tiles down into a single one. And look at this dock now. It's all one piece. It's treated as one piece. Notice when I hover over the trees, all of the trees of the same model also highlight. All of the flowers highlight. This is how you take, 160 something tiles down to like 9. And it's meshes that have to be calculated. So really super cool, easy way to optimize things. Of course, it's optimized now. We can still now pay attention to lighting. And I've gone through what HDRIs do and things like that. In this case, we're going to drop the lighting because I want to see what this thing looks at night. I want to see how it might play as a battle. And there may be some other adjustments that I come in here and do later. But this is like a pretty good start for a map, right? And we can play it day or night. I am going to come in here and just get rid of that image from my background image so my HDRI image shows through. And yeah, this is great. I've got a moonlit night and plenty of trouble that I can cause my players here. And now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to give this scene, do a little bit more adjustment here. And then I'm going to get ready to share it, right? So here I'm dropping the light a little bit. You can see some of my lights. I might make those lights brighter at some point, which you can do. but already a really, really great start. Yeah, and easy. And you saw, I mean, there's so many things you can do here. So let's go ahead and give this a name. This is the name that we're going to share it under, so you want to be deliberate about it. We're going to right click and we're going to go down to share scene. And then we're going to be able to do a bunch of stuff in here, like selecting what the artwork was, give it an image, go ahead and write something about it. And we can put a secret key in. So I won't go through all of this stuff right now. The secret key lets you come in and actually make changes later if you want to make some updates to your map and then reshare it out with the community to look at the map title and your secret key and use those two things together to help to let you make changes after the fact. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this and have fun with the contest and have fun making your maps.